The air in the gymnasium at Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia, held the faint, lingering scent of old sweat and floor wax. It was January 11, 2013. The cavernous room was quiet, squeaking sneakers, bouncing basketballs, replaced by an echoing stillness. Sunlight streamed in through high windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the silent air. Along one wall, a collection of large, rolled-up gym mats stood upright, close on towering cylinders of blue vinyl. They were a common sight in any school gym, unremarkable and ordinary, yet one of them held a terrible secret that would soon fracture the peace of this small southern town. Inside this silent space, a discovery was made that defied simple explanation. Students climbing atop the mats to retrieve their belongings found something blocking their way. They alerted staff. The scene that unfolded was one of unimaginable horror. Was found inside one of the rolled mats. He was upside down, his head wedged deep within the tightly coiled material. The initial shock gave way to a flurry of questions and confusion. How could a young, athletic teenager end up in such a bizarre and fatal position, unseen and unheard in a busy school? The first official narrative arrived quickly, delivered by local law enforcement. After a preliminary investigation, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation ruled Kendrick Johnson's death an accident. The theory was that Kendrick, known as KJ to his friends and family, had placed his shoes inside the rolled mat for safekeeping. Later, upon realizing a shoe was missing, he dove headfirst into the center of the mat to retrieve it. In this version of events, he became trapped, unable to pull himself out, and ultimately succumbed to positional asphyxia. He suffocated due to the position of his body, which prevented him from breathing. For a moment, this explanation seemed to close the book on a tragic and deeply strange event. It was a freak accident, a one-in-a-million occurrence that ended a promising young life far too soon. But for the Johnson family, the story felt incomplete, a hastily written final chapter that ignored too many troubling details. They could not accept that their son, a strong and vibrant athlete, had died in such a passive and solitary way. Their grief was quickly joined by a powerful and unshakable skepticism, setting the stage for a decade-long battle for answers. The official ruling of accidental death was a conclusion that Kendrick Johnson's family could never accept. For them, the investigators' story was a thin veil over a darker reality. Their son was not clumsy or reckless. He was a three-sport athlete with a bright future. The idea he'd voluntarily dive into a narrow opening and get stuck seemed implausible. Their doubt was not just grief, it was fueled by glaring inconsistencies in the official account. Their refusal to accept the verdict started a relentless pursuit for the truth. The family demanded a second look. They hired private investigators and a legal team. They spoke to Kendrick's friends and classmates to reconstruct his final hours. What they heard: a normal school day. No sign Kendrick was distressed or missing anything. The lost shoe explanation felt like a convenient, simple answer. The family believed the truth was being obscured, and they were ready to challenge authorities who closed the case quickly. They requested that Kendrick's body be exhumed for a second, independent autopsy. They wanted a pathologist not connected to the state. It was painful and drastic, but necessary to confirm or refute the state's findings. The second examination would be a turning point. It turned private grief into a public outcry for a new investigation. The private autopsy by Dr. William R. Anderson produced explosive findings. He concluded Kendrick's death was the result of unexplained, apparent, non-accidental blunt force trauma. This contradicted the state's finding of accidental asphyxiation. Dr. Anderson noted hemorrhaging on the right side of Kendrick's neck and on his jaw. Injuries, he said, were inconsistent with getting stuck in a mat. The private opinion gave the family their first concrete forensic evidence. The case became a battle of conflicting forensic narratives. The second autopsy unearthed a discovery far more disturbing than blunt force trauma. He found all internal organs were missing. Brain, heart, lungs, they had been replaced with crumpled-up newspaper. The macabre detail sent a shockwave through the case. The funeral home said the organs were too decomposed and were disposed of per procedure. The family and their attorney said those organs were crucial evidence their absence made a proper second autopsy impossible. Missing organs became a central, horrifying point of contention. Why were they removed, and why wasn't the family told? For the Johnsons, it felt like deliberate obstruction, an attempt to destroy evidence that might show a cause other than an accident. The image of their son stuffed with newspaper was a grotesque insult. The detail galvanized public support. Many found official explanations woefully inadequate, further fueling suspicion. The surveillance footage from Lowndes High School. Investigators had hours of video from multiple cameras in the gym around the gym. The footage released looked incomplete. Conspicuous gaps appeared in the timeline. Certain camera angles that should have captured the mat area were missing or obscured key moments, including when Kendrick would have entered, were unaccounted for. Forensic analysts said the footage showed signs of alteration. Timestamps were inconsistent. Entire blocks of time were missing. One analyst said a file covering 1 hour and 5 minutes was gone. Another file covering 59 minutes was missing. School and law enforcement blamed technical glitches. To the family, the missing and manipulated footage looked like a cover-up hiding movements of potential persons of interest. Section 4. Footage files and a fight for truth. The battle for answers moved from the realm of private investigation into the public square and the courtroom. Armed with the troubling autopsy results and analysis of the surveillance footage, the Johnson family, along with their supporters, began to organize. Protests erupted outside the Lowndes County Courthouse and the Valdosta-Lowndes County Government Building. Demonstrators held signs with Kendrick's picture, demanding justice for KJ, and their chants echoed through the streets, challenging the official narrative and calling for local officials to reopen the case. These rallies drew national media attention, transforming a local tragedy into a symbol of a larger struggle for transparency and accountability. News headlines across the country began to feature Kendrick Johnson's story. Major networks and newspapers picked up the case, highlighting the strange circumstances and the family's unwavering fight. The story was tailor-made for the age of social media, where images of the protests and details of the missing organs spread rapidly. Documentaries and investigative specials were produced, laying out the evidence for a wide audience. In response to the growing public outcry, the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Georgia, Michael Moore, announced in October 2013 that he was launching a formal federal review of the case. This was a major victory for the Johnson family, as it meant the resources of the federal government would be brought to bear on the investigation. Federal investigators would re-interview witnesses, subpoena documents, and conduct their own analysis of the evidence. For a time, it seemed as though the family might finally get the unbiased investigation they had been fighting for, free from the influence of local authorities they had come to distrust. Despite the federal investigation, the family continued their own legal battles, filing a $100 million wrongful death lawsuit against 38 individuals, including local law enforcement officials, school administrators, and several students. The lawsuit alleged a vast conspiracy to harm Kendrick and subsequently cover up the crime. The legal proceedings were long and contentious, filled with motions, depositions. Section 5. A nation watches, a family grieves. For years, the federal investigation proceeded quietly, leaving the family and the public in suspended animation. Then, in June 2016, the Department of Justice announced its conclusion. After reviewing volumes of evidence and conducting over 100 interviews, federal investigators said they would not file criminal charges. The department said in a press release the investigation was closed without federal criminal charges. They concluded the evidence was insufficient to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone willfully violated Kendrick Johnson's civil rights or that there was a cover-up of a crime. This announcement was a devastating blow to the Johnson family. They had placed their faith in the federal government to uncover the truth they believed local authorities had hidden. To them, the decision felt like another betrayal, another door slammed shut in their faces. The Justice Department's report acknowledged unexplained aspects of the case, but said the high standard for a federal criminal conviction could not be met. The family's wrongful death lawsuit was also dismissed, leaving them few legal avenues. Throughout this long journey, the human element remained at the forefront. Behind the headlines, lawsuits, and federal investigations was a family grappling with unbearable loss. Kendrick's parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson, became public figures, but remained grieving parents. In interviews, their exhaustion and pain were palpable, yet their resolve never wavered. They navigated the complexities of the legal system, mourned their son, and planned his funeral twice after exhumation. Their fight was not for fame or money, but to know what happened to their child. The case became a fixture in the national consciousness, a chilling modern mystery. It has been the subject of podcasts, articles, and documentary films. Experts continue to debate the forensic findings, the surveillance footage, and the plausibility of the accident theory. The story touches fears about institutional trust, racial justice, and the possibility the truth can be buried in plain sight. Kendrick's story is no longer just his own, it belongs to a public that continues to watch and wait. Today, more than a decade after Kendrick Johnson was found in that rolled-up gym mat, his case remains officially closed, but emotionally wide open and intellectually wide open. The official cause of death remains positional asphyxia, a tragic accident. This conclusion is supported by the initial state autopsy and the findings of the lengthy federal investigation, which found insufficient evidence to prove a crime had been committed. From a legal and official standpoint, the book is shut.